Hey, my name is Ray Winterholt, and this is my Leadership in Context vlog. The first person I interviewed was Ethancadore, who is a resident director here at Southeastern. Ethan has been doing the job longer than I have. Ethan's context differs slightly from mine in that he has a dorm of freshmen to look over. He is an excellent leader who understands his role and completes it with integrity and efficiency. He holds his team to a high standard and always clarifies his objectives. In addition, Ethan is the director of esports here at SEU. He has the responsibility of creating a collegiate athletic team from scratch. He has simultaneously balanced RD and esports responsibilities and been successful in leading both teams. Ethan has developed a multitude of leadership competencies over the years. His vast experiences have served him well in his current position as an RD. In speaking with Ethan, his core competencies are courage, teamwork, and authenticity. Although these may seem basic, they are core to a resident director. These competencies are crucial for an RD to exemplify to their team. As an RD, courage is a necessity in dealing with a multitude of scenarios. Student conduct, RA constructive criticism, and saying no to a task in order to prevent burnout. But more importantly, courage allows an RD to be available to students when they need them the most. Ethan's courage often turns into compassion. I'm convinced there is no one that Ethan would not sit down with and get to know if they needed help. Authenticity gives students and staff alike a deep trust for Ethan. No matter the setting, he does not waver. Finally, Ethan is the greatest team player. There is little to no ego concerning his leadership. Ethan's development of these traits certainly didn't begin in the Marine Corps, however, they were made strong there. Ethan served 2 years in Japan and 2 in the Pentagon. During his time in the Marines, courage and teamwork were requisites of the job. More than most occupations, an individual will not last long in the armed forces without some measure of these qualities. It was working in this sometimes hostile environment that Ethan grew to become strong in who he is as an individual. In an environment like the Marine Corps, it can become very easy to be walked on if you're not able to stand firm in who you are as a person. In adapting to his current context, Ethan has faced challenges both internally and externally, the organization he works for. One of the greatest challenges he has had to face was health problems with himself and immediate family. It is in these moments that his leadership and character have truly been tested. He would be the first to say we don't truly know the type of leader we will be until personal circumstances seem overwhelming. One thing Ethan has taught me is that there is a fine line between collectivism and individualism when it comes to the context of an RD. RDs have to be team players, and as I stated before, Ethan exemplifies that better than most. Collectivism represents a preference for a tightly knit framework in a society in which individuals can expect their relatives or members of a particular in-group to look after them in exchange for unquestioning loyalty. What Ethan has found is that the culture at Southeastern can lean too far into the dimension of collectivism. It can feel as though the willingness to be part of the team can be taken advantage of. Ethan learned this balance early on in his career as an RD. This is where the courage to say no has come into play. The second person I interviewed was Lee Wilson, and within the last few years, Lee Wilson has become the executive pastor of programming and family ministries at Abundant Life Christian Center in Syracuse, New York. He was my youth pastor growing up. Pastor Lee is a dynamic speaker and preacher, and as an executive pastor, he's responsible for the organizational operation of the church. He oversees many different departments, or at least has a hand in them. He ensures that the message being delivered aligns with the church's mission in every aspect. He understands how social IQ can translate into organizational efficiency. By understanding the people he serves, he is able to better develop and structure the ministry without wasting time or resources. And watching Pastor Lee and having many conversations with him, he has strong leadership competencies in organizational planning and culture setting. Having been a youth pastor, he understands the necessity for young people to have a culture they can belong to. It is his job to stay relevant to the current generation while remaining true to the gospel. As an executive pastor, he plays an integral role in the growth of the organization and the retention of its members. He oversees much of the placement of staff in certain roles, develops strategies for new relevant initiatives that help sustain growth, and helps ensure that from the technological and visual side, the message is delivered with clarity. What is truly amazing about Pastor Lee is that his highest level of education is high school. The development of his leadership competencies began from a young age. He grew up in Houston, Texas, in a lower-income community and met Jesus on a basketball court. It was through his natural ability to read and understand people that he was able to make connections and gain new opportunities to learn. He learned from leaders he served under and through failure. He read books and listened to the voice of the Lord. The experience of having worked with numerous church organizations and being asked to speak around the world has allowed him to observe healthy systems and cultures and those that aren't. The greatest development for him has come from trying new things and then learning to refine them time and time again. Challenges to the current context he works in have been both personal and organizational. He began a weight loss journey a few years ago that if he had not embarked on, his health would have deteriorated. He continues to remain healthy and active and has a clean bill of health today. This perseverance to push past this obstacle while still leading at the level he does is a testament to his endurance. From an organizational standpoint, one challenge that he has faced is moving into a new position in the church and not having adequate leadership to fill the position he vacated. The area of ministry he vacated began to suffer, and he would eventually need to step back in and rebrand, reorganize, and bring new leadership on staff. Pastor Lee exemplifies Bowman's structural and human resource frame in his current position. During a rebranding process or even during the implementation of new programming or procedures, oftentimes new roles must be added or current roles adopted to meet the overall objective of the church. Pastor Lee has a high social intelligence, which enables him to clarify and gives him the clarity when developing programming for a specific people group. Tinkering with structural arrangements requires a clear understanding of your situation and developing the right social architecture to fit specific conditions. Every organization needs to respond to basic contextual factors. Before making any changes, Pastor Lee rigorously plans his next course of action through idea boards and mapping out the future, so he has clarity and avoids moving a piece of the organization into a place it shouldn't be. Finally, because Pastor Lee operates in the church context, there's familial work environment due to the nature of the work. The human resource frame focuses on skills, attitudes, teamwork, and communications. As someone who is responsible for setting the culture tone of the church, Pastor Lee works with other leaders who believe what they do and find meaning in their jobs. When operating in the human resource frame, Bowman states that individuals find meaningful and satisfying work, and the organization gets the talent and energy it needs to succeed. The final person that I interviewed is my good friend Justin Mayo. Justin is the executive director of the international charity Red Eye and founder of the Youth Mentor Initiative. His leadership competencies are so many. He's a visionary, he's a people organizer, he's consistent, and he's humble. For the past 14 years, he has spent countless hours, probably over 200,000 hours, in South Central Los Angeles in the Watts community. And during this time, there's been over 15,000 children and families that have benefited, and over 5,000 people have volunteered with his organization. So the way he developed these competencies, I think how he was raised, his parents are part of the Mayo Clinic, so that it was instilled in him at a young age to help people. Schooling, I'm sure, was part of it. He has his MBA, but I think more than anything is probably the time that he's put into establish the relationships that he has within the community. Some challenges that he's come to face when trying to assist the people of Watts are finances. It is a nonprofit organization. The city of Los Angeles, sometimes you can run into obstacles with city ordinances and things of that nature, misconceptions of what it is that he's trying to do, and that just comes from a lack of understanding. And so when we talk about the symbolic frame, I think Red Eye is a perfect example of that frame. And looking at Red Eye through the symbolic frame, we have to look at what it means to all involved. To really discover why it has been successful. Red Eye often hosts events with no purpose other than to be a blessing and benefit to the community the organization serves. There's always a huge turnout of volunteers. When it comes to organizations like Red Eye, Bowman states that activity and meaning are loosely coupled events and can have multiple meanings because people interpret experience differently. Serving a community holds different meaning for all involved. Those who are being served appreciate whatever the event is doing to benefit them. Volunteers find meaning and a feeling of purpose in serving others, and those who give financial backing feel they are contributing to the greater good and believe their money is being put to good use. My name is Raymond Winterholt, and this is my presentation.